Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports, here for our daily news roundup. Quite a busy day here yet again. Michael Andretti has revealed some information about the future of Andretti Motorsports in Formula One. FIA president has also spoken a little bit about it, the CEO of Formula One as well. And then just a little bit of news about Sergio Perez, about the cost cap, about Martin Brundle, as well as the Las Vegas Grand Prix and some news going into the Singapore Grand Prix. So to round up our first article here, Michael Andretti drops major hints with FIA decision on his Formula One entry imminent. Andretti already fields cars in several motorsport series around the world, including IndyCar, Australian V8 supercars and Formula E, and wants to add an F1 team to that tally. Andretti Autosport has just reread that. While much of the team's early efforts were focused upon the US, the team has since branched out to other markets and competes in V8 supercars in Australia, as well as global championships such as the single-seater Formula E and electric rallycross series Extreme E. To more accurately represent its worldwide empire, the company has now rebranded itself to Andretti Global. As well as the name change, a new logo will be introduced, replacing the Shield-style one that is currently in use. Andretti said, "I'm proud of what Andretti Autosport has accomplished over the years, and all the memories that may have come with so many special moments. Just as proud as I am of our past, I am equally excited about our future. As we continue to expand and build a global racing institution, our goal is to be ingrained in the culture of our fans, teams and partners. This rebrand is a major milestone in our team's journey, but we are only getting started." The future he referred to may well include an F1 berth, and Andretti has teamed up with American car maker General Motors through its luxury Cadillac brand to submit a proposal to the FIA to prove it has the resources and know-how to run an F1 operation. The FIA is set to make an imminent decision on the proposal submitted by Andretti and half a dozen other interested parties. If President Mohammed bin Sulayem's previous comments are anything to go by, the American stands a very good chance of being approved for a Formula One team. But it will still be difficult for him to join the grid, as the FIA's say-so is not enough. I'll repeat that. But it will still be difficult for him to join the grid, as the FIA's say-so is not enough. Formula One itself and all the current teams would have to agree to allow Andretti to join on. And as it stands, a few of them would like anything but that. Alpine would likely be open to the Andretti bid, given it has a deal to supply potential teams with engines, while McLaren may also say yes due to CEO Zak Brown's business ties with his fellow American. But convincing the rest will be a tough task, with many of the other bosses vocal about their opposition to a new team. So, moving on to what Ben Sulayem has said about this possible team coming into Formula One. This is an older article, but just showing you what his opinions are, and then we'll go over to Stefano Domenicali's opinions on this move from Andretti Motorsports. FIA President Mohammed bin Sulayem has urged for common sense to prevail when making a decision over whether Andretti Cadillac Racing will become an 11th team in Formula One. The sport's governing body launched an expressions of interest process earlier this year, with the final decision on expansion at the end of July. There is capacity to increase the grid to 12 teams, and the most open bid since the beginning of this process has been the Andretti Cadillac team, with Michael Andretti's outfit pushing for entry from 2025. Speaking to AP and confirming there had been more than 5 entry bids submitted, Ben Sulayem explained, "People have to understand we are here to promote motorsport and we are here to be fair. The expressions of interest process is very robust, and there's no circumstance where we can deny any teams if they fulfill the criteria to enter." Imagine me saying no to someone like GM, added Ben Sulayem. "We have in the regulations that we can go up to 12 teams. I'm not breaking the rules. But do we allow anyone to enter? No. But how on earth can we refuse GM?" Andretti initially announced its bid to enter Formula One through 1978 world champion Mario Andretti under the Andretti Global name. though it became clear that the lack of factory support would stand in its way as the incumbent teams sought to protect the overall value of the grid. But the decision to partner with General Motors was a power play from the Andretti team and has seen Ben Sulayem publicly back the entry effort. So good to see that we do have Ben Sulayem, the head of the FIA, backing this new entry by Andretti Motorsports. I certainly want to see more teams making their way into the Formula One grid. Mark, they're just saying Americanizing Formula One again, as well as Dominator asking, do we think this could happen? It certainly could be a possibility with Formula One wanting to Americanize the sport a bit more. We've had so many additions of American races. We have now Haas as an American team. I'm sure they would love to have another team with the backing of a huge company like General Motors. It's highly likely. I'm going to put up a poll now for all of you guys, just asking, do you think that Andretti could make its way into Formula One? Do you think? I'm actually going to change that. Do you want Andretti in Formula One? That is not live. So moving on though to what Stefano Domenicali thinks of this new bid for a Formula One seat. Stefano Domenicali adds that Michael Andretti's group is not the only one trying to bring an 11th team to Formula One. Formula One boss Stefano Domenicali says that Michael Andretti is just the most vocal of possible new entrants and has emphasized his belief that there is little value in expanding the grid. Formula One has had 10 teams throughout Liberty Media's ownership of the championship that began in late 2016, but Andretti has been public in trying to find a way onto the grid. He even attempted to acquire a majority stake last year in Sauber Motorsport, which runs Alfa Romeo Racing. This is also an older article from 2022. But a potential deal collapsed amid control issues. Andretti subsequently revealed plans in February to enter its own Formula One team in 2024. The operation has begun investing and developing a project based out of Indianapolis, has a potential engine supply deal with Renault, but does not yet have an entry on the Formula One grid. Stefano Domenicali said it is a matter of understanding not only the ones who have a louder voice, but there will be other people, because Andretti was quite vocal about his request. But there are others that have done the same in a different way, said Domenicali. I do believe, as I always said, that today it's not the problem of having more teams that will give value to the championship, but there is a protocol that has to be fulfilled. And everyone, Andretti included, is following that. So this is the situation today. I don't see any changes. We need to be prudent because we are talking about Formula One. We need to have an entry or an entity or team or a manufacturer that is really solid, is really strong and has a full commitment for an incredible long-term future. Ultimately, the final decision will not be made by Domenicali, Formula One or the other teams, but by the FIA under its president, Mohammed Ben Sulayem, who I have already said is quite vocally accepting of Andretti Motorsports' bid to become the 11th team on Formula One's grid. And I think it's certainly possible with the backing of a major automaker like GM. I think it's really possible that we will see the likes of Andretti Motorsport making their way into Formula One in the next few years. To answer your question there, Dominator, just saying, yes, I do agree. I think it is very possible that we could have an 11th team on the Formula One grid in the next couple of years. And I'm certainly hoping that we do hear very soon from the FIA and Mohammed Ben Sulayem that we get a response and hear if we are going to get the approval of Andretti Motorsports. So moving on though to our next article, Sergio Perez has provided the first hint over a Red Bull Formula One exit. Sergio Perez has struggled to match Verstappen at Red Bull during their time paired together, with Sergio Perez suggesting that he is in the beginning stages of thinking about his life after Red Bull, with his contract ending at the end of the 2024 season, which is at the end of next year. Sergio Perez is currently in his third season at Red Bull. but has been heavily outperformed by his teammate Max Verstappen during their stint together, winning 5 races to Verstappen's 37 as of the 2023 Italian Grand Prix. Earlier this year, questions were raised over Perez's future, and if it was possible that the Mexican would be dropped at the end of the current campaign. The speculation has mounted amid a poor run of form for the 33-year-old, who failed to reach the final segment of qualifying on 5 consecutive occasions between Monaco and Britain, with Daniel Ricciardo touted as a possible replacement for 2025. However, Red Bull team boss Christian Horner recently reiterated that Perez will, at the very least, see out his contract with Red Bull till the end of 2024. Is Perez possibly seeking a new challenge? People have been asking. Speaking to DAZ in España, Perez stated that he will sit down with the Milton Keynes-based squad and discuss his future, but acknowledged that it may lie away from Red Bull. Every year, you learn new things, and that's why I like the sport so much, Perez said. You're learning new things all the time. I think, most importantly, it is for you to learn from your mistakes. With the season we've had, it is important to hold the next races in an environment where I feel I can contribute. And if that place for 2025 is not there, we will have to look for other alternatives. But right now, my main focus is to be here to win more races, to keep winning championships with Red Bull. I have a contract till next year, and at some point, we'll sit down and talk, Perez concluded. Yeah, very interesting to see what's happening with Sergio Perez at the moment, whether he will continue with Red Bull until the end of 2024, or whether he will get replaced mid-season. I doubt he'll get replaced mid-season, as of course Christian Horner has been saying. He's got that seat. He's got it till the end of 2024, and we don't expect him to be ousted from that seat anytime soon. So moving on though to our next article, and speaking about a big talking point from last year's season, which was the cost cap. The cost cap has finally been announced for this year, and the teams that have broken that cost cap are nobody. Unfortunately, from our side, it's a little bit boring, but no Formula One teams have breached the 2022 cost cap, the FIA has stated. All Formula One teams were in compliance with the cost cap regulations from last year, the sports governing body said this week. Media reports in Italy and Germany, dismissed at the time by the International Automobile Federation, had suggested in July that at least 2 of the 10 teams could breach the 2022 cost cap. But the FIA had said that the cost cap administration has issued certifications of compliance to all 10 teams and competitors. It said in a statement that current champion Red Bull was fined 133 million rand, and its wind tunnel time reduced by 10% for a minor overspend in 2021. The first year of the regulations, Aston Martin was also fined $450,000 for a procedural breach. But the review has been an intensive and thorough process, beginning with a detailed analysis of the documentation submitted by the competitors, said the FIA. Additionally, there was an extensive check of any non-Formula One activities undertaken by the teams, which comprised multiple on-site visits to team facilities and careful auditing procedures to assess compliance with the financial regulations. The FIA has said that all teams had acted in all times in a spirit of good faith and cooperation throughout the process. Red Bull's punishment for last year was criticised by some rivals as not tough enough, with Ferrari boss Fred Vasseur last month describing it as a big joke and calling for sporting penalties. A penalty like last year isn't severe, the Frenchman said. A technical advantage will translate into a sporting advantage. Red Bull won both titles last year and are enjoying a dominant period, with the double world champion Max Verstappen taking his 10th win in a row last weekend in Italy, and the team now unbeaten in 15 races. The cost cap was introduced to rein in spending and level the playing field between the bigger and smaller teams. Well, it certainly hasn't necessarily been too showing of the cost cap just yet, because we are still seeing that major disparity between the big teams and the smaller teams in Formula One. But we are starting to see the likes of the Williams being able to make gains in Formula One. So maybe it is starting to come into its own and starting to actually help those smaller teams in the way that it was meant to, and the way that the cost cap was introduced in the first place, to allow these smaller teams to be able to fight further up the grid. Just checking our comment section. Marcus said, boo, we want cost cap breaches. I agree, it is a little bit boring when we don't have anyone breaching the cost cap, but it just means that everyone is well within the regulations. And yeah, I don't necessarily want to see teams breaching the cost cap, but it does provide some interesting news articles for all of you guys. So for a new poll maybe here now, let's ask you, what can I ask? So let's just talk a little bit about Perez maybe. So there's the new poll. Do you want Sergio Perez to stay in Formula One past 2024? Just going back to our previous article where we spoke about Sergio Perez. Yeah, let us know what you think in the comment section there, as well as I see we have a couple of you watching alongside with us. Please do be sure to drop a comment down in the comment section. Let us know where you're watching from. Yeah, as well as just ask us any questions that you may have for me here today. So moving on to another article here from Martin Brundle. Martin Brundle has fired back at Toto Wolff for his Wikipedia jibe. The former Formula One driver and Sky Sports Formula One commentator was not impressed by Mercedes' lack of appreciation for their rivals' efforts. Former Formula One driver Martin Brundle believes Red Bull's dominance should be appreciated after the team claimed their 14th win in a row for the 2023 season. The team has not lost a race since the 2022 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, with Max Verstappen going on to break the record for most wins in a successive season, with a 10th victory at Monza last weekend. Red Bull is now on 583 points in the Constructors' Championship and are 310 points clear of Mercedes, with questions now burning to whether they can win every race in 2023. Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff reacted to Verstappen's record by claiming it was just for Wikipedia and doubted whether he cared about such a record. Writing on his Sky Sports Formula One column, Brundle feels that they should be applauded for their efforts. He went on to say what an achievement to faultlessly keep up that level of performance and reliability on many different track layouts and in varying weather conditions. Up against mighty opposition, he wrote, "Congratulations to each and every one of the team. If a tennis player or football or rugby team, for example, was so utterly complete and dominant, they would rightly be globally lauded at the highest level. It should be this pairing. Sport can and should be tribal. You must surely also appreciate level of excellence in others." So I was a little surprised and disappointed that Lewis Hamilton and Toto Wolff played down this appreciation and this achievement over the weekend, because they rightly achieved or received their due reverence and appreciation during their years of total dominance from 2014 to 2020. At the same time, Max and Red Bull will no doubt reflect on the past few actions and words, which have diluted their current appreciation levels in some quarters. But it's all to be expected when you put so many intensely competitive people into the same space. Very interesting to hear those words from Martin Brundle, just talking about the likes of Red Bull's words down in 2014 to 2020 during that competitive period from Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton, where pretty much no one else was winning races. And of course, they would have gone on to say that they didn't want Mercedes to be dominant and would have been a bit annoyed at it at the time. And now the shoe has changed to Mercedes, and they are the ones that aren't necessarily happy that Red Bull are dominating the sport and are quick to forget that they dominated the sport for a good set of years. Yeah, but that's the sport. We do have dominant periods for drivers and teams. We've had it from Ferrari. We've had it from Michael Schumacher. We've had it from Senna and McLaren. We've had it from multiple different teams. And it's really just another cycle that the sport is going through. Yeah, I see we have a couple more people joining us. Please do be sure to drop a like and comment down in the comment section. Let us know where you're watching from and let us know who you're supporting in Formula One and what you want to maybe hear a little bit more about from our Motorsports live news videos. Yeah, so I see some people just saying that they want Sergio Perez to stay into in the sport past 2024. Yeah, we'll keep looking back at that poll throughout the rest of this news video though. Formula One has responded to transportation and licensing fee concerns ahead of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Las Vegas has been, just moving on to this article here. As Formula One repaving races, as Formula One are repaving the finish line in Las Vegas, Clark County commissioners are publicly displaying their concerns with transportation during the race. Questions also remain about financing the repaving and using temporary structures to potentially block businesses' views that don't pay for them. The concerns range. It's a terribly written article. I do apologize. The concerns range at the end of Tuesday's Clark County Board of Commissioners meeting, where Commissioner Tick Sergeblom requested Formula One and Las Vegas Grand Prix personnel to publicly update on their operations. I can no longer complain. I just have to try help fix it, Commissioner Marilyn said during the meeting, referencing logistical concerns stemming from the race and construction. The primary commissioner concern is how will the internationally recognized racing giants get 105,000 spectator seat ticket holders and over 100,000 hospitality workers around the nearly 4-mile circuit that cuts directly through the Las Vegas Strip. Terry Miller, design and construction project manager for the Formula One Las Vegas circuit, says those plans are still developing, but indicated hotel workers may have to park off-site and transfer over to their place of work. Shuttle service is another option, Miller said, addressing the board. They cannot walk 2 miles and then go do their job for 8 hours, standing on the hard floor, and then walk 2 miles to get back to their car. Pedestrians will also feel the transportation dilemma. The event will likely only be accessible by foot, as roads in and around the circuit will close in the evening and reopen the next morning for 3 days. Stephanie Allen, lobbyist for Las Vegas Grand Prix, has said that they are encouraging spectators to stay at nearby hotels to limit vehicle necessity. Miller says that they are developing an app to help pedestrians navigate the strip with real-time information that established apps may not be able to. Las Vegas Grand Prix also provided maps that indicate when the track is hot, and temporary pedestrian bridges will allow people to move in and out. The circuit also only travels down the southbound lanes of the Las Vegas Boulevard, so vehicle traffic is expected to remain relatively unaffected. Sightedness of the race, Miller says that they are not strategically planning to place temporary structures like lights, advertisements, or tall barriers in front of those who have not paid. Licensing rights are around $1,500 per person, which is multiplied by maximum occupancy of a venue allowed by its fire code. It's the same all the way around the track so that we can have a safe track for the drivers, Miller said. After the meeting, detailing low lighting structures are placed roughly 100 feet away from each other throughout the circuit. Whether you're up in a hotel room or you're in an activation zone, we have created the track lighting such that it is as transparent as you can get. Crews have been erecting lighting stations along the Harmon Tuesday night and expect to finish all stations just before the race. Track barriers and safety fencing begin placement at the beginning of October. So a lot of logistics still in the pipeline for this Las Vegas Grand Prix, and a lot of unknowns still not known by a lot of the local county. So very interesting to see that they are still trying to get all of these logistics in order for the Las Vegas Grand Prix, which is taking place in November, in not too long from now on. We would have expected it to be ready. I mean, I know that the Singapore Grand Prix has been ready for over a month. I have had friends that went over to Singapore and they've showed me that all of the barriers and the curbs have been put up already. A lot of the branding is put up. The lighting's already been set up for the Singapore Grand Prix. It just shows that I don't necessarily know if this Las Vegas Grand Prix is going to be ready in time. It's certainly going to be a bit of a scramble to get everything ready for lights out on, I think it is 25th of November or something around there is when the Las Vegas race is going to be hosted. But moving on to our final article here for today, speaking about the Singapore Grand Prix. It's an older article, but just speaking about the revisions to the track for this year's Singapore Grand Prix ahead of the Singapore Grand Prix in 2 weekends' time. The Singapore Grand Prix is set to feature a revised track layout in 2023. Next year's Singapore Grand Prix, or this year's Singapore Grand Prix, will look a little different after it was announced that the Marina Bay circuit is set to undergo changes to the track layout ahead of this year's race. Redevelopment works in the vicinity of the track mean that the section between turns 16 and 19 of the 2022 layout will now become one long 397.9 meters straight, reducing the total number of corners from 23 to 19. The changes, which are subject to the FIA approval and will also require the removal of the Bay Grandstand while the redevelopment is carried out, are expected to see the circuit length reduced from 5 km to 4.9 km, with the number of laps in the Grand Prix likely increased from 61 to 63. Using simulations based on the 2020 Formula 1 car, the race promoters estimated the new best qualifying lap time will be around a 1 minute 27.7 seconds. That compares with Charles Leclerc's best pole of a 1 minute 36.2 seconds in 2019, the last time the venue staged a dry qualifying session, with the minimum race time expected to be around an hour and 30 minutes. So, the work around the Singapore Grand Prix circuit, which held its first Grand Prix in 2008, are for redevelopment of the float at Marina Bay into the NS Square, a new community and events venue. They are set to start in March and are expected to be completed at the end of 2026. So, would it be expected to continue with this current new layout until 2026? Well, that's it from me and all of my articles here today. A little bit shorter, but nonetheless, a very exciting news day here. Do let us know what you think. Do be sure to vote in those polls. The current poll asking whether people would like Sergio Perez to stay in the sport past 2024 has a resounding yes, with most of the votes going to him to stay in the sport. Whether he'll be able to find another seat past 2024, that is what we'll have to wait and see. There is still a lot of drivers without seats for the future. The silly season, I still don't think has kicked off yet, and I think we're still waiting for it to kick off this season. We'll have to wait and see though what happens. But nonetheless, thank you from myself and Forever Motorsports for joining us for this live news video. Do be sure to check the channel for all of the short content that does get put up throughout the rest of the day, as well as if there is any other breaking news videos. Do be sure to subscribe to the channel if you are enjoying the Formula 1 content being put out by us. And yeah, thank you very much for joining me here today. I have been Reece here on Forever Motorsports. Cheers.